What's up, guys? Welcome back to another review, and this time we're going to take a look at The Lost World, Jurassic Park 2. Directed once again by Steven Spielberg. Oh man. What can I say about The Lost World? Now I know The Lost World is a very divisive movie. You either like it or you either hate it. I happen to love The Lost World. I really like it a lot. Well, I have very scattered memories of seeing the first one in theaters. I have memories of seeing The Lost World in theaters. I was 7 years old and this thing came out in '97, so I saw it in theaters with my family, and I loved it. I thought The Lost World was great. Looking back at it now, does it have a lot of problems? Yes, it does. Is it as visually stunning as the first movie? No, it's not. Just because I like The Lost World, the grade may not reflect that I like it more than Jurassic Park, but I'm going to explain the reasons why I do think that The Lost World in some ways, does things a little bit better than Jurassic Park. And one of the things that I do like about The Lost World, that I do like about The Lost World, is the tone. I like the overall darker tone of this movie. I like the fact that it takes place in a jungle. And we get to see the dinosaurs actually, inhabit the jungle. And actually, we see the social classes that the dinosaurs have. We see the Brontosaurus with the Brontosauruses. We see how the T-Rexes with the T-Rexes and the Brachiosaurus with the Brachiosaurus and stuff like that. Like, we actually see these dinosaurs living in captivity like they did millions and millions of years ago with no human interference at all. And that's one of the things I like about The Lost World, is that it creates a prehistoric setting in present-day 1997, which I thought was pretty cool, and which I thought was a really, really cool concept. And I thought that the execution, for the most part, was really well done. Again, Steven Spielberg. Even if he can make a bad movie, you'll at least know he's going to put a lot of heart and soul into a movie like that, into a bad movie. And that's what he did with The Lost World. No different than the first movie. The cinematography. The cinematography by Janusz Kaminski is very foreboding in a lot of areas. Of course, Kaminski replaces longtime cinematographer Dean Cundey for this movie, and I like Janusz. And of course, this is one of the early collaborations of Janusz and Spielberg, as they would go on to have a long history together. And of course, those two and Janusz and Spielberg have a great chemistry together. Spielberg's directing and Janusz's cinematography for this movie is great. I like the whole look he gives the Lost World. He gives it a very dark, foreboding look in the nighttime, and he gives it a very bright, very cheerful presence in the daytime. So it's a good contrast. I like the contrast. Now listen. A lot of the characters in this movie, some I actually really, really like, and some I can do without. Like the lead villain, Ludlow, for example. Not a big fan of him. To me, he's just a generic suit villain. I kind of understand his purpose for the movie. He wants to take the reins from John Hammond, and he wants to take the dinosaur concept from being on an island and putting it in the States, San Diego. But of course, he has an ulterior motive because, the company is on verge of Chapter 11 bankruptcy, and the only way to get out of bankruptcy is to exploit these man-made dinosaurs they've created. So that's his storyline. He's out there for profit and gain, not for preservation. John Hammond is out for preservation. Learning his lesson from the first movie, he wants to be, when he was a capitalist, he's transitioning himself into more an environmentalist, and understanding that these animals are not meant to be interacted by humans in any way, shape, or form. They should be isolated and kept to themselves. So that's John Hammond's character. And you know what? I'm not a fan of Ludlow, but I'm not gonna lie, I did, for the most part, enjoy that whole dynamic going on between the two. Of course, I would have liked if they would have actually just shared some screen time, but, whatever. It is what it is. This movie's got a lot of good... Jeff Goldblum returns as Ian Malcolm, and I like Malcolm more in this movie than I did in the first movie. In the first movie, Ian Malcolm comes across more as more lighthearted in the first movie. In this one, he's a little bit more skeptic. He's a little bit more edgy in a way where he's been through some shit, and now he's gonna be going back into the shit. Now he has to save his girlfriend Sarah Harding, played by Julianne Moore, who is on the island, and he has help from Richard Schiff and whose character is named Eddie, and the character of Nick, played by Vince Vaughn, and now Jeff Goldblum, and now Ian has a daughter, Kelly, who kind of stowed away onto the island with him. So pretty much Goldblum has to protect all, Ian has to pretty much protect all these people from the dangers that this island inhabits. You know, you see the oohs and the ahs, but later there's running and there's screaming. So I like all that. Now I thought that was handled pretty good for the most part. And again, Jeff Goldblum, you know, put on a good performance, like you do. There are a lot of like these little things that I watched I just found hilarious. Like there's the opening scene where this British family, you see this British family on the island, and unknowingly on the island, and their little girl gets attacked by the compies, and the mother sees this, she screams, and it quickly transitions to Jeff Goldblum in a Caribbean backdrop, just yawning. And I kind of like that transition. It's almost as if the woman is screaming at the sight of seeing Jeff Goldblum. Then again, who would scream at the sight of seeing Jeff Goldblum? So yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. For the most part, I like the chemistry that Goldblum has with Schiff and with Vaughn. I think the comedy between those two is pretty good. I like the character of Eddie really, really a lot, and I also like the fact that Eddie, pretty much he dies a hero, because when the shit hits the fan, the T-Rexes. Okay, so Goldblum's team's on the island, and then Ludlow's team also is on the island, and they have this big game hunter played by Pete Postlewaite, and whose name is Roland. And Roland, by far, hands down, is one of my favorite characters in this whole movie. I love Pete Postlewaite's performance in this movie. He gives Roland this, you know, snappy, quick wit, take no bullshit attitude, and I like how he puts everyone in his place and doesn't think twice about it. Like, he's a man who is in complete control and is totally in charge of any situation he's in. Well, really, really like the character of Roland. And I like the fact that he's not an ass, that he's an asshole, but he's not an asshole without compassion. You know, because you see scenes where he does show some compassion. Like after the shit hits the fan and the T-Rex and the two T-Rex family and the two T-Rexes, you know, attack Goldblum and his team in the trailers because, you know, they're trying to get their baby who was kidnapped by Ludlow's team, and the Goldblum team sabotages their campsite, releases all the dinosaurs that Ludlow's team kidnaps, and there's all chaos and mayhem and bedlam, and it's a great scene. But Ludlow's team has kidnapped baby T-Rex. Malcolm's team rescues TX, fixes broken leg, gives it back to the family. Then Mommy's very angry. They come back and start wrecking shit all over the campsite. Eddie is doing everything in his power to try and save everyone. And of course, for his efforts, he gets chowed. He becomes T-Rex Chow. But I like how he has a chance to die a hero. Like he tried to save everyone, and that's a good character. And it's a good character trait for Eddie, because he comes across as like a good guy, and he tried so hard. The entire scene of him trying to save him is a great scene, very suspenseful. Really like it a lot. There are moments where that scene can get really, really tedious, especially when I think they're climbing up this rope, and I think the rope breaks at least 3 times in a row, and it's like, oh Jesus Christ already, come on, how many times can the thing fucking break? And they go down and they go up, and they go down. I mean, the scene becomes really tedious and becomes a chore to get through, because it's just like, okay, you're milking this thing way too much. And I get it. You're trying to have your JP1 T-Rex scene, only a little different, only with more visceral viciousness to it. So I get it. You gotta make it longer, more suspenseful. But after a while, you know, pick up the pace a little bit. You know, hey, Junior. But does it make it a bad scene? No, it does not make it a bad scene at all. It's still a really, really good scene, and it does have a good payoff. To me, it has a good payoff when you see Eddie become Chow, and you see Ludlow's team and Goldblum and Ian's team kind of join forces to try and escape the island. And this is where, you know, we get to Roland becoming more compassionate. Like, he sees that, you know, Julianne Moore's character has a bloody vest, and he thinks she's injured. He, you know, shows compassion. And, of course, she finds us not, and that's okay. And we had this other scene where Roland's friend, Ajay, is killed by the raptors, and, of course, he's very, very upset about this. You know, again, Roland, to me, is a very, you know, without having to have so many scenes, so much dialogue, he is a well-rounded character. He's a badass, but he has compassion as well, and he's a big game hunter. So it's not personal for him; it's just a sport. I love all that stuff. It's good. Roland, good character. I wish there was more scenes with him. Peter Stormare has a nice little role as Dieter. He gets killed and attacked by the combies, and I like the little hint of a rivalry they have between him and Vince Vaughn's character Nick Owen. I thought that was pretty good. This movie has a good raptor scene, the long grass scene where the raptors just pick off everyone one by one, which I thought was really nice in its own right, and the whole chase where the raptors are trying to attack Ian's friends in like this little compound, I thought was well done. The T-Rex wrecking havoc in San Diego is probably the most memorable scene of this whole movie. That's the entire third act right there, and that was joyful destruction, seeing T-Rex interact in San Diego, which was pretty cool. So I think that pretty much covers everything with The Lost World. I think I got my points across. And again, is it as good as the first movie? Listen, just because I like The Lost World, I like The Lost World for different reasons than I like Jurassic Park. I love Jurassic Park because I love the spectacle of Jurassic Park, seeing all these things for the first time. But I like The Lost World a little bit better than Jurassic Park because I think The Lost World has a more interesting tone and a more interesting setting than Jurassic Park did. And I think the story, the story to me is a little bit more darker. Of course, and not only that, the special effects for both films are top notch, especially in The Lost World. They're done great. The practical effects use are also well integrated are also well done as well. Stan Winston and his team knock it out of the park like they always do with these JP movies. At the end, those are my thoughts on The Lost World Jurassic Park. To give it a final grade, I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. The Lost World to me is a 9 out of 10. I have more things that I like than I dislike about it. But the main thing I don't like about it is the character of Ludlow. He just comes across as just a one-dimensional villain to me. And you can tell he's not a factor because I didn't mention anything in this entire review about this guy. That's how little of an impact he leaves on me. And yeah, to me, that's a point because he's portrayed as a major character, yet he's just unengaging and uninteresting. And you could have made it interesting by having more of a dynamic between him and Hammond, but you didn't really do that. So yeah, he's inconsequential in the end. The only thing that happens of any greatness is when baby T-Rex and Papa T-Rex eat him at the end, which is great because he got what was coming to him. So yeah, end of the day, The Lost World to me is a 9 out of 10. Now listen, just because I like The Lost World more than Jurassic Park, like I said, that doesn't mean the grade's going to reflect that. But again, as I stressed throughout this entire review, I think I got my points across as to why I think The Lost World is a little bit better than the first movie, with just one flaw, in my opinion. So anyway, let me know what you think about The Lost World Jurassic Park in the comments section below. Subscribe to my channel and like this video, and I'll catch you all next time for more. Later.